Okay then, good afternoon. This is Joe here back again, Joe Haslam, professor at IE Business School. And I'm here to introduce this panel this afternoon, which is titled Going Global, Investor Founder Insights. And we're going to be joined by two Koreans, both called Kevin and also by Ling. So if you'd like to come onto the stage, please, Kevin, and Ling. And we will just, come on to the stage. And we will just check. Those of you looking at the program, there's one speaker who won't be here, so we'll just have three people, which is actually loads to be able to cover everything. So we need to take one chair away, but otherwise, okay. So Ling is going to be moderating, so can I ask you please for a round of applause for Going Global Investor Founder Insights.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon as we share a little bit about startups going global. So as introduced earlier on, my name is Ling, and I've had the privilege of actually working with both the co-founders here of two companies beside me over the past couple of months as we at 500 Global brought startups from Korea over to the US as well as to the Middle East to explore a market expansion in those countries. Today, both the founders who are here with me, I'll introduce them. Okay. Yeah. So to my direct left, I have Kwangwon Lee, who is CEO of Seider Corp, a semi-solid state battery power station. So they produce a semi-solid state battery power station that is lighter, faster, and safer. Kevin likes to make this joke about how they've not had any explosions yet. They've made $2 million in revenue and are already selling in Costco, CJE&M, and Coupang. And then to my further left, I have Kevin Kim, who is the CSO and co-founder of Portal 301 that provides no-code automatic AI robot software solution. And they are basically capitalizing on a growing market trend of replacing human labor with robots in hazardous environments such as industrial coating and nuclear sectors. So their software significantly simplifies and accelerates the initial setup of robots, and they're already partnering with companies like Susan and Teradin. So again, to provide some context, we actually spend time with the companies exploring the US as a new market to expand into. And today we'll be sharing a bit about the failures, the achievements, the learnings, and some advice for startups. Just a show of hands, are there anyone here who are startups? Great. Okay, yeah. So maybe let's start off a bit with why and when did you decide to expand to the US? Maybe start with you.
It was our second year. We thought we've started a business and very successful in Korea, and we have like 300% growth every year. But we thought we wanted shooting for bigger markets and different industry that we never experienced. So only place we thought about was the United States, which is bigger markets and bigger population. So second year of our business, we thought about expansion to the US.
So second year, and this year you're in your third year of operations, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So second year was when the idea of going to the US came up, and this year you've executed on it. Okay, we'll talk a bit about how that has been.
Right.
Kevin.
Yeah, so our company is Portal 301, and we wanted to expand to the United States from the day one because, as you all know, USA is the biggest market in the world. And we're a robotic company automating the manufacturing sectors. But our company is like 2.5 years old. As we were building up our robotic solution, we came across this political agenda of the United States of nearshoring and reshoring. So we saw the market opening in the United States, so we wanted to take the first mover advantage. That's why we decided to expand to the United States.
So having now spent a couple of months exploring the US and 2 weeks in the US itself, could you share a bit about what was your achievements that you've gotten there and also maybe some failures as well? And maybe we'll start with you, Kevin.
Yeah, so we had like lots of meetings. The 500 global market launch program is very intense. So we had product open house and networking events. That was all very intense. So all the VCs, like for example, Qualcomm Ventures, and all other VCs like iSeed VC, they started talking to us, and everyone was very interested in the robotic because everyone thinks that the robotic, there will be like 10 times, 20 times more robots in like 5 years. So everyone wants to invest in it. So that's what we got help. We got a lot of network from the 500 Global.
Well, thanks for the plug about 500 Global. What about failures? Oh, actually, maybe we'll go to achievements first, then we'll come back with failures.
Biggest achievement was we have found new markets. We initially thought about our target market is just for the campings because a lot of people use power station for the camping and they all deserve the safety. But we found out that US experienced a lot of power outage. We didn't know when we were here, but we found that US experienced a lot of power outage. So we thought about, this is our market. So the biggest achievement was we actually do the research and also found the new market targets.
And again, for a bit of, how did you actually manage to find that new markets itself? What process do you go through to find that new markets?
Just to find new markets, we have talked to a lot of investors and we received a lot of feedbacks, and also we got a chance to talk to our potential customers. So they all give us a lot of feedbacks, but among those feedback, I think power outage for household was the biggest issue there. So that's how we found the new targets.
Which is interesting because power outage, like you shared, just doesn't really exist in Korea, right?
Right, we don't have any power outage here.
Yeah. What about failures then?
Failure. Actually, we tried to talk to many manufacturing factories and all the other companies to get the partnership. So the cold emailing got like 99% ignored. So that was the hardest part, but I expected a failure, so it's not a surprise for us.
Do you have any hunch as to why the cold email outreach or cold LinkedIn outreach didn't get any responses?
Yeah, I feel like in the United States, people do the business based on their network. So warm introduction from my network, they get 100% response. I get the introduction and they come to me and they want to set up the meeting. But most of the times, if they don't know me and if they don't know any network that, if I don't have any network that's gonna connect me, I feel like they are afraid that I'm a scam. I think that's why they're ignoring the cold emails.
At least you're still smiling about it. But what about your experience? I think you had a bit of a different experience with cold outreach. Can you share more about that?
Oh yes, I also have a lot of cold emails to the potential clients and customers, but I experienced also the same thing. Like 99% was ignored. I think the reason why my email was ignored, we think, is also I agree with he said through the network. We should approach through the network, not just cold outage. So yeah, and after a few days and few practices, we found a different approach, which is approach through the network. Like if I know the person and he introduced me to the different company, and that's how the business starts, I think.
So you shared a little bit about the differences and the connections that's required and everything. What surprised you the most about the US market, and what kind of differences are there, with the Korean market as well? So what was the biggest surprise to you and learning to you?
Biggest surprise. So I'm a startup. We have government grants and we have some seed funding, but the VCs in the United States, they look for different. First thing, they don't have the government funding in the United States unless you're in a military. So our company was, we do have some revenue, but our company is labeled as pre-seed in the United States. So that was very surprising to us because in Korea we were already seed, and then we are raising pre-A right now. So I learned about how VCs in the United States, they're more looking for the traction, like what partnership they have with the companies based in the United States. So I found a very hard hindrance, that I have to overcome to expand to the United States.
One of the things, I mean, before I hand it over to you, one of the interesting things in comparison as well is one of the startups also shared that in Korea, company reputation matters a lot. If you come from a good school, you've worked at a big company before, and you do the outreaches, people will actually entertain you and speak to you. But in the US, they felt that the personal reputation mattered a lot more. Obviously, you want someone to be able to refer you, but the personal reputation and how that person carries themselves, why they are doing what they are doing, and forming that relationship actually matters a lot more than the company reputation. Would you kind of agree with that? Does that reflect your experience?
Yeah, I do. The personal reputation. I'm sharing one personal experience. I was invited to a local ex-founder venture capitalist party, local party, and I was introduced by one of the 500 global mentors. So he was one of the first employee of a global SaaS company, Asana, and he's a very rich guy. He wouldn't reply to my email unless I was introduced by the 500 global who knew that guy. So I really relate to the saying that the personal reputation is very important in the United States.
And what about you? What was surprising to you?
I was actually surprised the way people do the business is very similar to here in US and not even North America and also in Europe. The way people think in general is very similar, but just a little details could be a little different, but in overall and general way, is people think pretty much similar and same. That was actually surprised me.
So in terms of really just sales outreach, finding the connections, doing the sales pitch, everything, you would say that it's pretty similar?
Yeah, I think so.
And do you think that being able to be fluent in English or I think while we don't have a lot of Korean startups in the room, who knows who might watch this video. So to anyone for whom English is not a native language, what do you think they should, think about? Is English proficiency important? Is it important to have someone already in the US or familiar with the US market to be able to expand there?
Do you want?
I think it's very important because the 500 global mentors, some of the United States, people from the United States, they upfront told me that we will see some discrimination if English is not proficient enough. And I think that should be the case. If you want to do the business, you have to communicate very well, and the language is what makes the communication very easy. So yeah, I do believe the English is very important.
Yeah, I also agree because English is very important because to do the business and have a better relationship, you have to have a face-to-face relationship and you have to communicate each other. And if your English is not proficient, it is really hard to give a trust, and it's really hard to believe each other, and hard to communicate each other. So I think the way is capability of speaking English is also important.
So before, we went on this, when we started this one, I kind of asked you actually, when and how did you decide that the US is the right market for you to expand into? Now, maybe I'd like to invite you to give anyone watching a bit of advice. For any startups that are looking to expand to a new market, to the US, what do you think that they need to have ready and really prepare before going on that market expansion?
I can share first. So this my experience is coming from the experience from Korean. So LinkedIn is not very popular in South Korea, and I urge people to make the LinkedIn and post something, some useful information so that they can, other people, like people in the United States who are in the industry, they will somehow follow or connect to you. And I think that's the start of the network. So I would say make the LinkedIn and post something, post valuable information there.
Have you been actively posting on your LinkedIn?
Yeah, actually, funny thing, all the C-level LinkedIn was made by me. So whoever CTO, COO, CEO, whoever you guys are talking to, you're talking to the same person. So I have all the logins for the 4 people. So yeah, but it's a pain in the ass. I mean, sorry for my language, but managing like 4 LinkedIn, it's not easy.
Do you have 4 different devices for the 4 LinkedIn or?
No, I actually have the same password. So.
Apart from that, what else apart from LinkedIn profile preparation? Maybe a little bit around, what I'm curious to know as well is that we've heard a lot from US investors and US market that what they want to see is traction in your home market. Now, some countries, they will even go on to say that I want to see initial traction and initial partnerships in this new market itself, or that just a little bit of steps to show that you've done your market research about that new market. Given that you actually spoke to a few investors in the US and customers, what's your experience regarding traction?
Yeah, traction, I believe, so as a startup based in South Korea, so it's very foreign for the United States. If we have a strong traction, they will believe in our pitch. So even more so is important is getting the traction from the United States partners, but it's very hard to set up those partnerships. And I believe those tractions made, as long as you have the revenue, I think they will believe in your the pitch, and they'll be interested in talking to you. So I say traction is very important.
Your turn now. I'm going to turn it over to you for your advice to startups who's looking to go global.
Before go to global, I think every startup in the domestic market should be expert in their own markets first, before the expansion, and be top of your industry. Then you'll be able to see different, and you'll be able to adjust different environmental, whether it's different language, different people, and those will not be matter as long as you are on the export in your domestic markets and industries. I think that's the biggest point, I think.
You mentioned something about culture, and I want to double click on that a little bit, right? When we were and I think South Summit is obviously from Spain, so the culture is also really different there. But one of the things that we heard when we were in the US was that the US audience were actually asking and saying that we don't see the startups here making the ask. Like they are less upfront and aggressive than what we're used to in the US itself. Did you kind of feel that? And what was your strategy and approach to, again, doing business and communicating with people there? Or do you have people actually asking you, so what are you here for? What do you want from me?
You asking how I actively relate to other investors?
I think I'm asking whether you had to change a little bit of how you would normally approach people and conversations to adapt.
Yeah, definitely I have to be more active and actually proactive to have a conversation and try to promote my business models. And in Korea, I'll be more like just standing and not talking a lot. But in the US, when we have a product open house, I had to talk a lot more and be more aggressive. Yes.
Kevin, what about you?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how many you're from Korea, but my experience is coming from Korea. which is, so we are the country of Confucianism. So you have to be very humble, and if you're a little bit arrogant, you won't get the funding. So I'm from that kind of culture, but I grew up in the United States, went to college there. I believe Americans, they expect more of the confidence when people pitch, because if you're investing, you want the CEO to be a little bit arrogant so that they can protect their company, right? So, and those are the comments that I got from the investors from the United States.
Okay, when we started this conversation at the start, I kind of shared a little bit that both of you were part of the 500 Global Launch Program that took startups to the US as well as to Saudi Arabia for market expansion. I'd like to kind of ask you a little bit, based on that journey that you had through this program itself, whether it is product open house or mentoring or the different things itself, what do you think was the most helpful, right? How do you find that journey? What was helpful? And also, where do you think the program basically failed and sucked and you wanted to see more of?
So I appreciated getting all the networks. Because of the Global Launch Program, we had a product open house, and that was marketed in the advertised in the LinkedIn. So many people came to the open house. So we were able to talk to them. They were willing to connect on the LinkedIn. So that was very helpful, and it was intense. So I would hope there was more networking events, but I don't know if I could have handled it. Because I was very tired in San Francisco. It was very, very intense. Being in the United States, it's not cheap. Being in San Francisco, the hotel, it costs like what, $400 a night? So, and we were there for like 2 weeks. So, yeah, I would appreciate more networking events so we can hustle more. Yeah.
And I was glad I was able to meet a lot of advisors in 500 Global Network has, because they all from different backgrounds, but they're all experts in their industries. They have a lot of experiences, and I've met quite a few advisors who are very helpful to my business. Before I participate those programs, it changed my mind. Change the target and target marketings and also strategy. So because of advisors' help and their helpful stories, I could have changed those things, and that was very helpful.
Maybe one question that you might want to think about. I mean, I didn't ask this question before, but I'm going to throw in a new question here. And I've been getting asked this a lot, given that we have so many people from different nationalities here in the room, is that what are the differences between the startup communities in these different markets? The startup community in Korea, the startup community in the US, and I think the audience will have thoughts around the startup community in Spain as well. During your time in the US and even outside of that, what have you observed to be different in the startup community in Korea versus the startup community in the US? And what do you hope can change? So there's a lot of questions there. Number one, what's the difference? And number two, what would you like to change about the startup community here?
So what would I want to be changed in the community here?
So what are the differences and what do you want to change? Yeah.
Is it recorded? No, I believe startup community in the United States, obviously VCs, like I shared that I went to an ex-founder's local party and he was investing in nuclear fusion startups, which I think is a very, quite far away from getting in reality, so.
Do you say nuclear fusion?
Fusion.
Fusion. Oh, fusion energy.
Yeah, fusion energy. It's a very futuristic technology. And I actually talked to one of the company who got invested from him, was actually doing the nuclear fusion startup. And I think that's very different from VCs, startup community in South Korea. I believe if you pitch about nuclear fusion in Korean startup scene, you won't get invested. I doubt, like, and I believe he was very young, the startup founder. He left, he graduated from the university, he was in the PhD program, and he was on a leave, so I believe he's in mid-20s. So, and if you pitch about nuclear fusion, like that kind of B2B business, and the CEO is 25, I hardly believe VCs in Korea will believe in the CEO.
So basically, Korea should take more risk, both startup founders and VCs, right?
I don't, I don't want to say that. So,
I'll say
but
it.
yeah.
Okay. But you.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference in the community is maybe because of the cultural difference. Korean startup community, like a Korean culture, it's a little, people are shy to talk to each other and to reach out to others and promote our business models. But in the US, people do not hesitate to talk to each other and approach some stranger and explain my business. That was the biggest difference because of the culture. And so I don't know what to do on how to improve those cultural differences. But yeah, if there's any more events, like community events in Korea, that would be great. I mean, yeah.
To normalize people talking about their startup all the time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We've come to the end, so I'm going to just get each of you to share very, very shortly, very briefly, what's next for you? US expansion, what's next? One line.
Definitely US and Europe, all over the world.
Yeah, we're going to exhibition in Chicago next year, and we'll get the client next year, and we're expanding to the United States.
Okay, so we'll hope that both Seider Corp and Porter 301 will fly the Korean flag proud in global markets. Thank you so much. Please
Thank
join
you.
me in thanking them. Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful discussion. Hope many people got great insights through their discussion. So we end this session now. We're going to meet you at 3:50. Thank you.